Welcome to the third of our series of Back to the Vedas lectures. My name is Sangeeta Nepal, and I will be directing this evening's program. It is really heartwarming to see everyone, so many present here today. Our theme for today, this evening, is navigating the present, and the topic for discussion is: what is the relevance of Swami Dayanand's reforms to our current crisis? To enlighten us on this topic is Pandit Yuvesh Sundar. Can I please request, I'm not sure whose device is off mute. Can I please request them to mute it because there's some disturbances? Thank you. As I was saying, to enlighten us on this topic is Pandit Yuvesh Sundar. Pandit Yuvesh is a member of the executive of the Arya Samaj South Africa and the Vedic Purohit Mandir. He is a tutor and examiner of the School of Vedic Studies. He is also a moderator of the Ved Niketan examinations. Pandit Yuvesh previously held the position of vice and acting president of the Ved Dharma Sabha in Pietermaritzburg. He is a teacher by profession and has been teaching for 6 of his 30 years that I just found out now, in a 30-year career in Birmingham in the United Kingdom. He currently holds the position of head of department at Hillview Primary School in Reservoir Hills. He has also achieved BA Honours in Hindu Studies. It is indeed a pleasure to have Yuvesh ji share his knowledge with us today. And now hand you over to Pandit Yuvesh Sundar. Yuvesh ji, you may continue. Please unmute yourself, Yuvesh ji.
Okay. Namaste, everybody, and thank you. I hope you guys can hear me. We at the moment experiencing load shedding, so I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear. Is that fine, Sangeeta ji?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, right, that's fine. Okay. Revered Panditjis, members of the Back to the Vedas committee, revered elders, Swamijis, families, friends, and relatives, my namaste to one and all. Firstly, I would like to thank the members of Back to the Veda for giving me this opportunity to address you all on the topic, what is the relevance of Swami Dayanand reforms to our current crisis? Now, while reading and discussing, I found a very old book of mine, and when I went to Hindi school. Now, Karuna and those from Pietermaritzburg will tell you that 5 days a week, we went to Hindi school from 3 to 5. And besides learning Hindi, we did a bit of Hindu studies, and we learned about the Arya Samaj, its history and things. And I found this poem of mine that we used, our teacher, Miss Shama Rajkumar, used to teach us, and we all know it as well. So I'm going to say it, one, to break off that nervousness, and also to recall memory, bring back good memories as well. And the poem goes like this. Yeah, it was also sung as well. Dayanand ki sainik banenge, Dayanand ke kaam ke pura karenge, Vedic hamara dharam hai, Arya hamara naam, Ek ish ke pujana, Yahi hamara kaam. So you can see that the Arya Samaj flows in my blood. I am the 3rd generation of Arya Samajis. But while preparing this talk, I realized that over the years, gradually I lost a lot of information, and it was excellent in that it gave me an opportunity to refresh and learn more on Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Now let's look at Swami Dayanand Saraswati himself. I'm not going to go much into his birth and things, but I'm looking at Swami Dayanand himself. Swami Dayanand was born in a form of Hinduism that was full with contradictions. He was confronted with faith filled with empty ritualism, casteism, dowry, sati, animal sacrifice, idol worship, polytheism, untouchability, child marriage, forced marriages, illogical dogmas, much of which was devised by the Brahmin caste to subjugate society. But unlike other sadhus and sannyasis of his time, he accepted modernity. He displayed a patriotic attitude towards national problems. Swami Dayanand was a key figure in the making of modern India. This is by virtue of his enormous work, and this helped India uplift itself both politically, religiously, as well as the social fabric of the country. So he was born at a time where India was at its darkest. Now, I've taken some of his social reforms and as well as his reforms, and I'm just going to speak a bit of it. We take for granted that all our members here or listeners are Arya Samajis, but we have people that are not Arya Samajis that listen to us. So I'm just going to touch a bit on his teachings as well. Firstly, the Vedas. Swami Dayanand put emphasis on the Vedas. He praised the culture of the Vedas in no uncertain term. He was the person who gave the slogan, "Back to the Vedas." He stated the Vedas contain scientific knowledge, several reforms, philosophy, and doctrines of morality. Swamiji emphasized that the Indian society can be reformed and reconstructed by following the Vedic practices. Thus, he established the importance of the Veda on a solid foundation. It should be clearly understood that Swamiji's slogan of "Back to the Vedas" was a call for the revival of Vedic learning and Vedic purity of religion, and not a revival of Vedic times. Now, here's some of his religious reforms. Although Swami Dayanand immortalized the Vedas, however, he opposed idol or murti worship. He spoke out against ritualistic religious practices. And he stated that those religious performances would lead to a social, economic, political, and religious degeneration of India. He also rejected the ideas contained in the Puranas. He denounced polytheism as well as the worship of different forms of gods. He put a lot of emphasis on monotheism, and he devoted himself to the formless Paramatma. He wrote in the Satya Prakash, and I quote, "There is only one God with all those attributes generally ascribed to him by the monotheists. He is a creator first of the Vedas, then of the world. Hence the Vedas are eternal as compared with the world," unquote. Thus, Swami Dayanand brought uncompromising revolution to the field of religion. He told the inner purity is essential for spiritual development. So for Swamiji, religion, truth, purification, emancipation, moral conduct was synonymous to him. His opposition to the caste jati system, as well as the untouchability. Now, remember at his time, caste system was rife. Both Muslims, Christianity, as well as other religions took advantage of the caste system. Swamiji spearheaded his crusade against the caste system and untouchability. He reinterpreted the system of Varna mentioned in the Vedas. He stated it was meant for occupational purpose in society. this occupation was interchangeable. In a similar vein, he denounced untouchability and labeled it as inhuman and unsocial. He stated that in the Vedas, untouchability was not mentioned and it was not there in the Vedas. Now, a bit of controversy with his next reform, the Shuddhi movement. At the moment in India, it's called Ghar Vapsi, or coming back to India. Now, Swamiji was deeply moved by the conversion of Hindus to Christianity and Islam. He took steps to return Hindus into the fold of Hinduism, especially those Hindus who converted to Islam and Christianity under adverse circumstances. So he initiated this Shuddhi movement, which brought back Hindus who had converted from Christianity and Islam back to the fold of Hinduism. Remember, other forms of Hinduism or other schools of philosophy do not generally would not accept people who converted to other religions back into Hinduism. So he spearheaded this Shuddhi movement. And he was not liked by the missionaries for this Shuddhi movement. Now, although he was born 200 years ago and later on in the 1850s, can one admire Swami Dayanand for his status of woman? And Dayanand championed the cause of women. Child marriage and the Parda system were the orders of Hindu society at his time. Women education was restricted and widow remarriage was not allowed. He protested against all these evils. He cited the high position of women during the Vedic period. So he argued in favor of equal rights of women with men. He explained that an illiterate lay woman...
For 500 Rand, 95.
Sorry, shop is closed. He explained that an illiterate woman will be a liability to her husband, children, and for the whole family. He proclaimed that an educated man needs an educated wife for the overall benefit of society. He also asserted the right of women over property. He emphasized on women education and created provisions for them to study at the Dayanand Aryan Vedic colleges, schools and colleges. He opposed child marriages and he argued in favor of legislation to stop this evil practice. He also condemned polygamy and polyandry. His reforms gave a moral boost to women and helped them in their upliftment. Now, education reforms. Now, he gave a terrible blow to Lord Macaulay's idea on English education. Now, for the revival of India's glory, Dayanand put emphasis on the Vedic education, which was based on morality. Emphasis was to be laid down on character building of the pupils, championing moral-based education. In the Satyar Prakash, he wrote, and I quote, "It is the highest duty of parents, tutors, and relatives to adorn children with good, sound education, nobility of character, refinement of manner, and good temper," unquote. He also stated, recruited good, noble, and kind-hearted teachers. And he also stated that they should have mastery over the subjects. And then and only could he be able to infuse vitality into the nerves of his pupils. Thus, the motto of education for Dayanand was self-control and character building. Now, Dayanand and nationalism. He was an ardent champion of nationalism. He injected a sense of pride and dignity in every Indian by unfolding the glorious cultural heritage of India, cultural heritage of India before them. And he came with the concept of Swaraj and Swadesh, India for Indians. And his concept of Swaraj and Swadesh inspired a lot of freedom fighters like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Rajpat Rai, and Aurobindo Ghosh. He stood for national unity. He revealed that mutual feuds, lack of education, untouchability, negligence in studying the Vedas was certainly the downfall of India and the Indians. Now, one can also see and he stated that until and unless India broke the shackles of economic and political slavery of the Europeans, it could not achieve independence. It was for the first time that he uttered the word Swaraj and put emphasis on Swadesh or self-reliance. Thus, Swami Dayanand was a champion of Indian nationality. Now, and it is no wonder that 60% of the Indian freedom fighters, both radical and passive, hail from the Arya Samaj. His patriotism inspired Subhash Chandra Bose, and this is what Subhash Chandra Bose stated, and I quote, Swami Dayanand Saraswati is certainly one of the most powerful personalities who has shaped modern India and is responsible for its moral regeneration and religious revival. He is also called the Pitamaha of India. One thing we've got to look at him also, he was a firm believer in democracy. Right. He openly condemned imperialism and colonialism. He believed in the process of election, and an elected body, according to him, would definitely protect the interests of the common man. A ruler, he stated, should not be an autocrat or impose his whims on the people. He stated that the Vedas, he used the Vedas and told that everyone was equal before the law, both king and subjects. In his words, I quote, the relationship between the ruler and the ruled should be based on mutual respect and responsibility. The ruler should treat their own people as their own sons and daughters. The latter should respect the former as their father, unquote. Okay. Now, also, we talk about grassroots levels. Now, he gave a lot of importance to the village administration or the panchayat system. He told that villages should be involved with the system of administration. Due to that, the all-round development of villages would be possible. There should be a hierarchy of officers in charge of several villages. They would give the best direction for the progress and prosperity of the villages. Now, India, whose lifeblood is present in the village life, would be glorified by the progress and prosperity of villages. Much before Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Dayanand had thought about village administration and economic progress of villages. Now remember, he was a nation builder. So, one, he looked at fostering a national unity and a national language. He observed that Hindi was spoken largely by the people of India. So, therefore, he wrote his Satyar Prakash in Hindi and all his commentaries on the Vedas in Hindi. And thus he was able to reach the common man because Hindi was the language of that time. And today we see Hindi has become the national language of the country. And we could see, especially during the freedom struggle, the importance of Hindus. Now, this is the summary of some of the reforms that he said. One, God is omnipresent and the creator of the world. Two, the Vedas are the mine of knowledge, and every Arya must read it. We must prefer truth instead of lies. Through oblations, the religious practices must be made. The Samaj shall do stuti, pratna, and upasana. 6, Arya Samaj will work for the interests of society. The duty of the Arya Samaj is to serve for the interest of the universe. Number 8, the Arya Samaj has to put an end to illiteracy and spread education. One should not believe in the theory. Number 9, one should not believe in the theory of incarnation and murti worship. Number 10, one should have faith in the theory of karma and rebirth. Through these principles, Swami Dayanand carried several reforms, both in social, religious, as well as in the cultural fronts. Now, indeed, the reforms of Swami Dayanand Saraswati had inspired the Indians immensely. Now, the reforms that he carried out through the Arya Samaj are certainly memorable. Through various social, religious, and other reforms, Dayanand established the superiority of the Vedas. He established the Anglo-Vedic colleges, which later played a vital role for the spread of education in the nook and corner of India, and later on with the indentured Indians to the rest of the world. Now, there's much can be said about his social reforms. I mean, it will take me 4 or 5 hours. Now, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to bring his social reforms because part of our topic states that, okay, I've got it here 1 minute. Can the reforms set by Swami Dayanand, developed in the late 19th century, be applied to new challenges we face in the 21st century? Okay, now let's look at it at present times. Can it fit into society, and how? And how can we, the Arya Samaj, make a difference? Right. Now, the work he started 150 to 200 years ago leaves much for us to do in one's lifetime. Now, Swami Dayanand not only looked at the spiritual reorganization of India, but also he worked towards abolishing various social ills. And let's look at that one of them in today's time, rights of women. Now, if one looks at India, annually, twice a year, Navaratri is celebrated. We just celebrated the Chaitra Navaratri with Ram Navami, and the next one we'll do in September, October. Here we see the mother form of God is worshipped in the temples for 9 days. Pujas are done. We say Devi Mai and whatever people say, and also people do Kanya Puja, and the female is given that Devi status. But the moment one walks or steps out of the 9 days of Navaratri, what happens? India has the highest rate of rape in the world, with South Africa as well. Same 5 days, 9 days you were worshipping, doing puja, praising women. And the moment you come out from there, what happens? Rape. Both South Africa and India are fighting for rape capitals of the world. Female fetuses are aborted. Women are burnt alive for dowry. Acid attack is on the rise. Daily across the world, women are sold into slavery, trafficked across the world, and one can go on and on. So here we see, if we take time to look at the work and the vision of Swami Dayanand for a just and equitable society, especially regarding the rights of women, it is becoming unstuck at an increasing an alarming rate. Daily in South Africa, there's 150 reported cases of rape, leaving the unreported cases. I mean, it's frightening to think that this is happening in our country. Now, what do we do now? How can we bring about this change that's happening here using the Arya Samaj? Now, you know what? When I said this first song, Hum Arya, Hum Vedic, Hum Dayanand ki Sainik Banenge. Right. Here we now, as people of the Arya Samaj, we now need to go out into society again. Educate. Right? Educate people about different forms of violence now. And it's happening, as I said, it's happening throughout the world. Now, these are some of the forms of violence against women: intimate partner violence, female genital mutilation, child marriage, humanitarian crisis, human trafficking, economic inequalities. Right. So what do we do? I mean, you said we're becoming Dayanand's Sainiks. So let's start. I mean, we've started at our Samaj as well. We have the month dedicated to the 16 days dedicated against 16 days of activism dedicated to against gender-based violence and gender-based violence. Now, also, we should start speaking openly against it and start spreading the word against violence against women and children, right? Also, get back to school. I mean, we are seeing it at school, the sugar daddy syndrome, where young girls as 12 and 13, due to poverty, inequality, are being, what could I say, attracted by these men who prey on them. Now, here we have a lot of pundits now. I'm not pundit bashing here as well. That gown that you took is not for Muh Dekhai when we have conferences and pundits come and stand there and show your face, and gradually after conferences and Bahu Yajnas, we disappear. Remember, taking that gown means that you are going to commit to the work of the Arya Samaj. I'm not saying all pundits, I'm not pundit bashing, but we notice it. Right now, we at schools, come to our schools, educate our learners. Educate our learners, right? Speak to them. Come to us. And this is the way, remember, our mandirs are lying empty. Generally, you'll find 5 to 10 people in our mandirs. Come to our schools. Start basic grade R, grade 1 and 2. And then you will see these things will gradually stop. You will educate the young minds. They will make a difference when they grow up. Okay, so we can see that there's a lot of work to be done when it comes to gender-based violence and rights of women as well. Lots of work needs to be done there. Next now. At the moment, when one looks at South Africa, everything negative comes out there. Whether you're at a shop, whether you're at a funeral, whether you're at a wedding, people in the groups all talk about South Africa, and everyone, be it you or me, talk about, we focus on the negative issues that are coming out in South Africa. We talk about Eskom, we talk about crime, we talk about squatters and everything negative that's happening in our country. Right. Now, this is where Swami Dayanand's Swaraj and Swadesh comes to mind now. And this is how we put it into practice, as well as the principles of the Arya Samaj come in. Right. Now, this song comes to mind now. We talk about, everybody's talking bad about our country. There is no better place than South Africa. I've been there, lived there, done that. Remember, grass is only greener on the other side because there is more manure on the other side. Right. And the song comes to mind. It's one of the movies Amitabh Bachchan sings. Hamra desh ki burai, hamka buri lagela. For those who don't understand, right, that this says, I hate when somebody talks bad about my country. Yes, all countries have their problems. Right. So now, how do we change this? Right? How do we change this negative attitude and bring about this positive change in our country? We are blessed with good weather, we're blessed with good people, good resources, food and everything. But what do? We focus on the negativity in our country. Right. And who is to be blamed? Us. Now, what do? It's no use going to school and teaching the children, Kosi Sigalele, Africa, putting the preamble of the Constitution on the board there. Go back to root levels. Come to schools. Speak in your women's circles, in your satsangs, about being good citizens in your country. Start outside your house. Fine, municipality is not going to clean your verges. It's not going to clean the drains out of your house. Form social groups. Be patriotic. Start outside your house first. Clean your pavements, sweep it. You will set the precedents and everybody will start following. Yeah, 10 people, 20 people, but eventually people will follow you. Right. Now, also, one has to look at it that we have a lot of negative things going about. So we need to start positive issues. I'm going to tell you a good example, which I used for my learners in school. They cut paper and they throw paper everywhere. If you cut, at the end of the day, school is covered with paper and litter. So I asked my learners the other day, you know, if you get up one morning and you open the front door and you find a lump of feces there, what would you do? 49 learners of my class said, well, these are some of the answers they gave me. One, I will walk past it. One said, I'll go and look for the person who messed it, who'd left the mess there. 3, I'll get the critic or my cleaner to come and clean up. Only one child said, sir, I will clean it up myself because it is my house. And if I don't clean it, my house is going to stink and my house and people are going to talk bad about me. So this is where we need now to make our children patriotic. Teach them that this country belongs to you and I. You are the future leaders. So to our people out there, then those people that are listening, go to the schools, go in your senior citizen groups, talk about uplifting each other, about taking pride in your society, taking pride in your community. Take back your society and bring it back to its glory. Do not wait for politicians. Do not wait for the municipality to come and clean and tidy up. Now, this is where Swami Dayanand said, you know what? And he focused on that Swadesh, my country, my land. I've got to look after it. Right. Now, the next issue I'm going to talk about is unemployment. Right. Unemployment is rife in our country. Close between, unofficially, from what I've read the other day, there's close on to 18 million people. Close on to 18 million people in South Africa that are without jobs. Right? That's a lot of people. Right. So what are we going to do? Sit there, those that are fortunate, have degrees and things, pack their bags, and go away overseas looking for better opportunities. What happens to us that are left behind here and those that cannot afford it? Now, if one looks at it and looks at our country, remember, I'm not bashing or creating any xenophobia here or so, but one has to look at our country. Fine, we have an open border policy that was started by, I could be corrected there, where foreigners came to our country. Nothing wrong there. But if you look at the sewing industry and the hair cutting industry, who is cutting hair? Pakistanis? Who is sewing, doing the sewing? The Nigerians, as well as the Indians, as well as the Pakistanis. Do you know the guy that does my sewing for my kurtas and things has bought 2 KFC franchise in Gujarat? Right. The hospitality industry is run by the Zimbabweans. The building industry is run by the Mozambicans. And even the car guards is run by the people of Congo. Now, sewing, hair cutting, panel beating, gardening, these are all skills that used to be offered at school. Our trade schools are now closed. Very few trade schools are available. We now need to start focusing on buy South African, make South African. Now, this is the way we make the difference. And we can get rid of the unemployment. And as I did say earlier, that most of our centers are white elephants. Some are covered with grass, some are dilapidated. 2 or 3 members that have passed their sell-by date are holding on to these centers because of, what's this word? I just can't get it at the moment. Okay, I'll find it just because of some family commitment or some family that paid out of sentiments. They're holding on to these centers out of sentiments. Now here we come with, so back to Swami Dayanand Saraswati and his Swadesh. We now need to start looking at our centers. They should no longer be called mandirs. Right. This is my opinion, my view. So you ask me, how can we put it, Dayanand's words, to practice? Turn our centers into trade schools, training centers where skills can be developed. Now, I'm not sure, those of you in the last 25, 30, say 30 years ago, South Africa had a lot of clothing industries, shoe industries, Rainbow Chicken and others all closed down. Why? Because of cheap imports coming into the country. But now those cheap imports have become quite expensive. So now what we need to do is turn our centers or our ex-mandirs, whatever, into skill developing centers where we offer.
Sorry, Yubeshi.
Yeah,
Sorry
I'm
to
just winding
interrupt
up.
you.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm just winding
all right,
up.
perfect.
Right.
Thank you.
We need to turn our centers into skill development centers, right? Where they learn skills like computers. Robotics has just been introduced into schools, right? We share a good relationship with India, and they've got an excellent syllabus. Here's the job of the Arya Samaj. Take that syllabus, start using our centers for skills development. Build libraries there, homework and after-school clubs and centers. Now, a lot of our children turn to drugs and things because mother is working, father is working, they're living alone in informal settlements, and there's nobody to monitor them. So by turning these centers into tuition centers, libraries, even an adult granny daycare center as well. These are some of the things we can do. And here we see we can put the teachings of the Arya Samaj into practice and also live up to the work that was done by Swami Dayanand. Lots can be said and lots have to be done. But all we can do is stop sitting, stop talking and making every excuse. We now need to get up, wake up, smell the reality, and just take 2 concepts of Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Swadesh, Swarajya. And lastly, before I end off, how can you make that difference, housewives and things? You know that mama comes and knocks on the door, she's selling fino, she's selling nuts, she's selling chinies, she's selling brooms. There's you start with your little contribution there. by supporting that mama, you're not just supporting her, you're supporting her children that are at school and at tertiary institutions as well. That is the work of the Arya Samaj. Now, I've got like another quite a few pages here which I've wrote, but in conclusion, I'd like to say it's time we got up, sat together, and we, the people of the country, can make the difference. Now, in conclusion, I would like to thank the members of the Samaj for giving me this opportunity to address you. And I hope, even if you took one sentence from my talk, it makes a difference in your life. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you so much, Yuvesh ji. You've made some very, very interesting points. Before I open the chat and I open the floor up to the members who want to ask questions, I'd like to acknowledge we are very honored to have special guests from around the world joining us in our lectures today. I would like to acknowledge them by name. Special welcome to Pandit Bharat from New York, Mohini Mohit Jivan from Mauritius. I hope I got the name correct. Vishnu Bhai from Trinidad, and Sitara ji from London. Welcome to our lectures, and we hope to see you again in our following lectures to come. Thank you so much. So if anybody would like to pose any questions to Yuvesh ji, please raise your hand and you may ask the question, or if you want to comment. I have one comment from Bhaji Prabodh, who says, good motivations, Yuvesh ji. Okay, and the other one from RTG, great message, Pandit Yuvesh ji. If anybody would like to ask any questions?
Sangeeta,
I think,
Sangeeta,
Ji?
this is Pandit Bharat from New York. Pandit Yuvesh, I just want to say again, I mean, very good message, but you know, you mentioned some very valid points, and here in New York too, some of those, you know, what we call action plans that you mentioned, like making these centers like library, tuition centers, having sewing classes and different kind of skill-based classes. I'm just thinking the resources to, if the manders or the institutions have the resources to do that, or you, like, you know, if you don't get volunteers, is the centers willing to pay someone to do this?
Okay, this is what I'm going to talk to you from my school point of view. Now, I remember most of my learners come from informal settlements, right? This is where now you cannot depend on the mandirs itself and these institutions. A lot of them don't have that finance, right? So you've got to go to different embassies as well. We have students from Nigeria in my school. We go to these embassies and we tackle them and say, see, we've got students that are refugees from your country there. In what way can you help us? So this is where one of the ways that you can get money towards your project. And I'm sure, and especially at the moment, the government of India is looking everywhere and anywhere to make good political relationships with people. So if we say, right, okay, we're going to set up the center, tackle your Indian embassy. Their job is not here in South Africa to come and look at the lions in Kruger National Park. Their job here is to build bridges between India and South Africa. Tackle them, use your embassies. I mean, you guys in New York have probably over 50 embassies there. If you tackle 2 and they give you finances, you've achieved a lot.
Yeah, in New York here we have more of the consulates. In Washington DC we have the embassies. But I do agree with your point that we can reach out to these consulates for support and assistance in certain programs, especially like the Indian consulate here in New York for, you know, materials in terms of dharmic spiritual education. That's a good. I mean, we have done that and it worked. You know. Yeah. Thank you, Pandit Yuvesh ji.
Thank you, Pandit Bharat. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pandit Bharat. I see Vishnuji Ramsarup had his hands raised. If you'd like to continue or ask a question earlier.
Namaste
Vishnu
to
Bhai?
everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. You may continue.
Namaste everyone. Panditji, one of the issues that we have is the lack of education or lack of information as to the work Swami Dayanand did and left for us to follow. How can we increase his work or his knowledge, and by what means can we enhance our own learning?
Okay, Vishnu Bhaiji, thank you for that question. Right. As I said, we take it for granted that everybody knows and understands the Arya Samaj, its rules and its principles. We take it for granted. I, for myself, took it for granted because I grew up in an Arya Samaj family. This is what the Arya Samaj says, and this is what the Arya Samaj does. Now, firstly, it starts with the individual. Nobody's going to come and give you something. You've got to start looking for the information. One self-study starts with you first. 2, we need to start networking with all the other Arya Samaj throughout the world. Forget the Sarve Deshik Arya Samaj India. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I went to India and I wanted to go to the Arya Samaj in Hardwar, Gurukul Kangri. And the guy told me, don't worry about these Arya Samajis here. They fight whole day, they do Havan, and at 2 o'clock they go and sleep. Now, we've got you in Trinidad, we've got Haile in New York, we've got people in in Germany, we've got people, Arya Samajas throughout the world. Where we
In
now
Guyana
need to
also.
start,
Yeah.
Guyana as well, we've got people here from Guyana. We've got Prisha here from Germany as well. So we need to start networking with people from the greater Indian diaspora, because remember, we have studied the Arya Samaj, we've adapted it and changed it for its teachings for our Jesa Desh, Vaisa Vesh, for our country. So we need to exchange information, form links with them, and exchange information. If you print an article, send it to us. Now, we do something, we send across. There's a lot of information there on the media as well. So it starts with you. Let's start networking with the other Arya Samaj across the world.
Thank you so
Next
much
question.
for that, Pandit Yuveshji again. I see, thank you. I see RTG, she has her hand up. If you want to ask the question, Panditji.
Yes, thank you. Namaste, Panditji. I wanted to actually say this to Pandit Bharat. You know, here we have the Narayan Jivan Vedic Center that's in the heart of the informal settlement. And we've also been trying to get some skills development done there. So recently we've been actually addressed by the Lions Club, the East Coast Lions Club, and they're willing to come in and fund our skills development projects. So I wanted to actually say to Pandit Bharat, look at the private clubs as well, you know, especially in New York. The Indians in New York are wealthy Indians. So you need to go out there and to try and harness that kind of funding from them. And Yuveshji, thank you. That was a very informative talk that you gave. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope everyone's taking your message to heart, because that is what we want to do. That is our work, and that is what we should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Aarti.
Thank you. Thank you, Aarti Bhenji. We had the thumbs up from Pandit Bharat, acknowledging you, Panditji. I just need to read a few more messages before I see the host has her hand up. But before that, I just want to read a message from Samsung SM, says, inspiring talk, Pandit Yuveshji. Ratna Singh says, thank you, Yuveshji. Many great ideas, especially for funding, inspiring talk. Shabana Singh says, great ideas to use the mandir for things Ideas given are excellent. Thank you for an enlightening discourse. See, the host has raised her hand. If you want to say something.
Thank you very much. Namaste to everybody. This is Karuna. I just want to raise to Vishnu Bhai that we do have a Ved Jyoti, and it is available on our website, and we have a number of good articles that cover the issues that you are raising. So that's a good start to actually get going. Secondly, I wanted to raise another issue that links to Swaraj and Swadesh, and that is protecting our environment. I know Yuvesh Bhai actually talked about how we keep the place clean and tidy, how you get rid of the grime, and how the crime will actually disappear because people will develop better values. But I do think, in our centers, we need to have food gardens. We need to have gorilla gardens that, allow people to help themselves to veg and fruit. And we need to think about a good campaign on planting trees, because we need to leave a good legacy for the future. We have a brilliant legacy from Swami Dayanand in the form of the Arya Samaj with great principles, and the entire legacy that he's left has to be protected and passed on to the next generation. And it will only be passed on and protected if we actually act, and act now. If we don't do anything, we're actually going to lose out on keeping the legacy alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karunaji. Is there anybody else would like to share a comment or share their opinions or their views? If not, then it's time to round
Sangeeta,
up.
real quick,
Sure.
this lecture coincidentally falls today. I don't know if you are some of us may be aware, but today is Mahatma Hansraj Jayanti. And Pandit Vishnu mentioned, Yovesh mentioned the DAV colleges, and he was also big behind the DAV colleges. He founded the very first one in Lahore, which is now Pakistan. But he, one of the things one of his the slogans he was a forerunner of is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao program. And because at that time in India, because the DAV colleges were focusing a lot on girls' education, women education, there was a massive shift from the regular schools to have girls go to the DAV colleges. And that's something we should remember also, apart from Maharishi Dayanand giving this call for women's, as he talked very nicely, Panditji, on reform, especially women's education and women's growth. Mahatma Hansraj also contributed tremendously to that cause. And it's a reminder for all of us to continuing that. For example, here at our mandir in Queens, New York, we have one Sunday where we call it Mahila program, where the entire program is being done by women. They have the Sandhya, the Havan, the Pravachan, the Bhajans, the chairperson. Everything is either women or girls or panditas in training. And that's something, if Arya Samaj Mandirs is not doing, who are listening here, it's something they should start thinking about and having it done in their mandirs, where women is giving that opportunity to be, in the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pandit Bharat, for your input and for joining us and sharing your information and your knowledge with us. Much appreciated, all the way from Trinidad, I think. From New York.
No, New York. Originally from Guyana, but for the past 15 years living here in New York. Yeah.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Thank you again, once again, Pandit Bharat.
You're welcome.
I'd like to round up now, if it's okay with everybody, because the time is not on our side. I'd like to thank the audience for your presence and your time. It is truly valued. Before I close this evening's lecture, I would like to remind you of our next lecture date, which will be on the 17th of May, 2023. And the theme is, what does it mean to be a member of the Arya Samaj? The topic presented would be, what does the light of truth say about monotheism? And the speaker will be Pandita Arti Shanand. We look forward to another brilliant session. Thanks again, Pandit Yudvesh, for your enlightening lecture. We really appreciate your time and effort that you put into this presentation today.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so
Namaste.
much. We will now conclude with Aarti and Shanti part. Om Dhyo Shantir Antariksham Shantihi Prithvi Shantir Apa Shantihi Oshadhaya Shantir Vanaspatya Shantihi Vishwe Deva Shantir Brahma Shantihi Sarvam Shantihi Shantir Eva Shantihi Sama Shantir Edhi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti